I chose a local park that is, in the background you can see, is entirely planted to white spruce. And I chose this park because it's really the trees here are really struggling. They're under a lot of stress and it's starting to show. So I wanted to look at it and kind of come up with some ideas about the cause, and if I were to provide a report to the city of Saskatoon Parks, just to go through potential causes and maybe some remedial actions. I have chosen one tree in specific to look at. It is already dead, and there are a number of potential causes that led to its death. Before I do that, I wanted to kind of go over the topography of the park. So looking at the park from the street, it may be hard to tell in video, but generally speaking, the grade slopes down from the boulevard to the central portions of the park, and then it goes back up, forming a bowl essentially. You can see there's very little ground coverage. It's just turf under the trees, and this park is very well frequented, so I believe that compaction could be an issue. So looking at the trees as we move through, I don't believe that erosion is a serious factor. The grade may be a little bit low, but I think the park was designed in a bowl shape in order to increase water retention. So while compaction might be an issue, the fact that water should drain down into the central bowl, it should provide time for it to penetrate the compaction. And I don't believe that slope or grade or erosion are major factors in the health of the forest. So that was important to note. And now we'll get to one specific tree that I'd like to look at. Okay, so here's the tree in question, the white spruce in question. It is dead. There's no green showing anywhere. And what we're looking at here is roughly the southeast side. And if I pan around, you'll see that it's quite exposed to the sun and the elements, which I believe this damage on the trunk where the bark is peeled away, I believe that that's sun scald. And I say sun scald because I've looked at many of the other trees, especially the ones that are exposed on the south side of the park and in areas that get a lot of direct sunlight in the winter months, and similar patterns are apparent. Some of them have quite large cracks, the ones that have survived the sun scald and continue to grow. I don't see any cracking on this, and I searched the internet extensively for sun scald on white spruce, and I came up with absolutely nothing. So I have nothing really to compare it to, other than just the general pattern I've seen throughout the park, which is that trees getting southern exposure have this loss of bark. Even some of the living trees are showing significant losses of bark on the south-facing side of the tree. So moving in closer on the areas where the bark has fallen away, there's very obvious evidence of insect activity. There's galleries, there is sawdust. I considered a couple of different insects as potentially the cause. The first I looked at was white pine weevil, but from my understanding of that pest, it is too small to have produced this kind of damage. The other pest I considered was spruce beetle, and I did find a larval casing the first time I looked at this tree, but it has since been removed, fallen away, or been rubbed off. So I'm not really certain about that. The damage, I suppose, could have potentially happened after the sun scald, in which case I considered carpenter ants as a potential cause. And if I move around to the other side here, there is ant activity. I'm not sure if this is going to show up on video or not, but where are they? There are ants that are active here, there they are. But these aren't the kind of ants I was expecting. I was expecting to find much larger black and red carpenter ants. These are quite small. If I put my finger there, you can see they're not very big. And I don't think they would have produced the kind of damage that is found on the other side of the tree. So beyond the insect damage, which may or may not have been a contributing factor, we can see there is actually cracking on this side. This would be southwest, and there's a significant crack there that may have been from previous sun scald. And other than that, the grade seems fine. Roots are not exposed. It is higher up the slope towards the boulevard, which means that it might have water access issues. And yet it's surrounded by a number of white spruce that do not seem to be suffering the same problems, including this, which is actually quite a healthy specimen compared to most of the other trees in the park. Going off the assumption that the damage being caused here is related to winter conditions, I think there are a few solutions. But first I should note that the winter burn and sun scald are very significant, not only in this tree but throughout the neighborhood, really. It's appearing in many of the different evergreens, not only in the park but throughout the neighborhood. And I think that, I also need to note that I spoke with a city arborist, and he said that we're in the third year of below average precipitation. So overall, the problems in this park could be a combination of lower levels of precipitation, and then also the very extreme fluctuations we've been seeing in winter temperature. Dehardening during those rapid changes, dehardening of the trees, that is consistent with the damage that I'm seeing to the evergreens, a lot of winter damage, a lot of browning. And so I think the climate and lack of precipitation are the two greatest factors here. The question then is, how do we mitigate those factors and hopefully preserve this urban forest? And my suggestions would first be watering, fall watering, ensure that the trees have access to ample water so that they can properly prepare for the winter. The trees that are most at risk, the south-facing trees, could be wrapped. The trunks could be wrapped, and that would hopefully minimize some of the sun scald that is happening. And then I read a little bit about a product that can be used to reduce winter damage, and that is a anti-desiccant spray. It's a chemical spray that can be applied to trees. The specific product that I looked at, there was a caution on it that it should not be used on trees with a waxy coating on the foliage. So that would be something like the blue spruce, whereas the white spruce, I believe it would be a suitable product to consider. Beyond that, I don't really think that there's all that much that can be done. Okay, so that wraps up my oral presentation on the white spruce in President Murray Park here in Saskatoon. There's some noise today. There's some construction going on, which is unfortunate because standing here in this park, you can hear the birds singing, and it's just a really beautiful, peaceful place. And it's about as close as I've been able to find to an actual forest within the city boundaries. And I hope that the municipality finds some way to save what's left of the trees here, to preserve this park, for future generations. It would be a great loss, I think, to lose these trees, this space. So thanks for listening. Bye.